Speaker.
I call Andrew Bailey at short notice.
I am awake. Thank you. Now, what a great opportunity to talk about this bill. And look, I think we all share the intent of this bill, which is to try and look after the lower paid members of our community. And it's a great from that perspective, but I think the reality of this bill is it's deficient in a number of ways. And no doubt many of our colleagues have talked about this. But I think what I find interesting, when you look at Section 2, the principal is the specified person, and we need to get an exemption around Section 6, which is that a person has to apply this in the situation where there are a number of specified services. Of course, those are all set out in Schedule 2. Now, many of those are fine and appropriate if you were to adopt that, but the interesting exception is that it does not acquire the services for a person's personal, domestic or household use or consumption. But for me, this bill imposes a number of additional requirements, primarily on the employer. And what I just want to draw your attention to is Section 4B in the Act. I have read the Act. and the four additional tests that I think are not actually particularly pertinent and impose a much higher cost are, first of all, the following matters must be taken into account when establishing the actual rate of remuneration. The first of which is obviously the terms of the contract, that's fine. Secondly, whether the principal and the specified person has agreed on what is a reasonable amount of time. Thirdly, the information, the remuneration record required to be kept under Section 8B. And fourth, any other relevant information. Now, for full-time employees, you have a contract, and you, if they're on a fixed basis, all you need to do is record and make the necessary payments to IRD. What this does is actually take the information requirements a whole lot further for what will normally be regarded as casual employees. And I'm not saying that they're less important, but it just seems perverse that we end up imposing a much higher information requirement on employers to keep a track of it. And it's almost like the bill, or the proponents behind this bill, want to make sure that we've got a really good wrap around our employers, because the underlying assumption, in my view, is, which I don't believe with, is it's almost as if we don't trust any employer who employs someone on a contract basis. And I don't think that is correct in today's environment. There are, of course, poor employers, but that assumption, I think, which pervades this bill is actually inappropriate. The other thing is, it goes on about additional records to be kept under 8B. You know, you talk about the specified name, the postal address, kind of service, the hours, remuneration at intervals, the remuneration paid to the specified person for the service, and the method of calculation, and any other particulars. Again, it's getting into a level of detail which is simply not relevant and probably inappropriate. I think at the end of what we're trying to achieve with this is we want to make sure that contractors who are legitimately employed by employers are not exploited. That's, first of all, anything. And, of course, that's covered by the normal employment laws we already have in place. But
1 minute.
But the requirement to be overly prescriptive around how we employ these younger people, and I note that the Act, or the bill, proposes that reduces down to age 16 and over, is, in my view, just totally inappropriate. And what we really want to end up with is a fair exchange between an employer and employee. We don't want to clutter it. We don't want to actually create a disincentive for employers to actually employ these types of people. And I think on that basis that this bill is actually inappropriate and actually probably out of date, given all the substantial changes we've made to employment law in recent periods. So on that basis, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the bill.